No, I completely and totally agree with what you said and how you said that. I mean, it's the one thing that kind of brought up in my mind, which I think will kind of maybe lead into the virtues, is my son was asking me, oh, we do this thing. It's so he's been working 1 day a week at an older gentleman's house doing some like yard work for him, and I've been dropping him off. But before we do that, we go to this thing called Old Men's Breakfast. I call it Old Men's Breakfast.
Hmm.
That's not what it actually is, but our church has a group of men just meet at a coffee shop, and I'd say they all sit around and drink black coffee, but then there's this one guy that totally drinks his fruity girly drink. That's what he calls it all the time. I'm drinking my fruity girly drink, and it just makes me laugh because that's what he calls it. But it's like on our way to that breakfast one day, because my son Levi's been going with me. He asked me, he's like, Dad, what's it mean to be a man and to be a leader? Like, what's the most important thing? Like it is to be a lead, real more like leader of the household and that kind of stuff. And I said,
Hmm.
Levi, I think it's having courage. And then he's like, well, what do you mean by courage? And I'm like, courage doesn't mean you're never scared. Courage means even though you're scared, you still do it. And it's like,
Hmm.
Levi, I'm scared to death to do things all the time. And it's like, and that's one of the things kind of with my kids is I want to show them like, yeah, I'm scared to death to do this, but man, it's got to be done. And so I'm gonna do it. And it's kind of like with buying this homestead. I had no idea it was gonna work, and I remember having a conversation going, I'm scared to death, but I know God's gonna work it out. I just can't see it, but it's not my place to see it right now. And so it's like I'm gonna stand up and be strong and courageous, and kind of lead the family, even though I'm also just as scared as everybody else. And it's just kind of this interesting kind of aspect of what we think courage is oh well, you're not scared, you're not worried or scared about anything. Well, no, yeah, I am, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And that's where we kind of come to the point where, especially as men, we need to realize we lean on God's strength, not our own, because Dustin's strength will fail. Like I know it will, but God's strength won't. And so that's where it comes down to I I have courage because God is there with me walking through it the whole way. That's probably a pretty long kind of answer and lead in, but it really kind of put me in perspective, especially with my oldest. He's now, I mean, he's 13, he's going to turn 14,
Hmm.
and it's like he's starting to like kind of see, well, this is what the world thinks is a man, but this is what dad does, but how does this all fit together? And it's like, so he's trying to like figure it out himself. And it's like, and I kind of
Yeah.
want to tell him, hey, bud, we're all still trying to figure it out.
Right. I think it's incredible that at 13 he's asking you that kind of question too. That's incredible.
I mean,
Trying to
it's
to
fun
think about
stuff.
those things.
Yeah.
I think it's a John Wayne quote, but courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that is John Wayne.
which
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's John Wayne. And again, that's kind of a picture that a lot of people think of, like, oh, what's a manly man? There's a certain image that comes to mind with all the machismo and there's the I think it's pronounced that right, machismo, macho,
I,
machismo. I think it's
I'm
with the
good.
ch.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. See if anyone can spell that without autocorrect. You do that in the comments.